Oh yeah, we're already up to 4 people.
Yeah,
That's
we're
intense.
hey.
We lost 10 though.
We
Hey,
did, but
we'll
they're
get
coming
back.
back. They're coming
We'll
back.
get back.
They always come back.
They always, yeah. They always return. Yeah, so don't look at that because like it'll be delayed,
Okay.
Oh yeah, that drives me nuts.
and it drives me nuts too. So I'm gonna try and figure out how we can do this there. We'll do it like that. Yeah. There you go. Right, we're getting there.
Are we in?
Yeah.
We're in.
We're live.
Okay.
We're live. What's up, everybody? Make sure you chime in and say hi. That way we know that we're not just talking to ourselves. Kind of froze up before. You know, I got tense. I got a little. I froze up. I was like, wait, stop,
Go back.
stop. I froze. So, all right. Hi, Sarah. What's going on?
Oh, that's my little sister.
Allison's
that's my
in
auntie.
here. What's up? Allison's in here.
Listen, I'm just excited Allison's not banned from Facebook.
You know, I'm amazed too. So you know Allison, huh?
Oh, I do.
Oh my God! Like how is she not?
I know.
Her political views, every other view.
But that's what we love about
like
her.
Angles and views, like
Right.
her view.
It's
No.
just no nonsense.
And I'm gonna get her and Jordan in here.
I think that'd be epic.
They're
Everyone's-
gonna be one of those.
Everyone
Those-
has an opinion, you know. You can't ban it on Facebook for opinions.
I know.
Yeah, that's a Twitter thing. Or
Yeah,
at least
that's a
it
Twitter, for real, Twitter thing.
used to be.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
I should have worn glasses.
I know it's hard. It's hard. Like you start staring all funky.
Someone's
Right.
gonna screenshot me like
Yeah.
trying to read the screen.
The blind
Right.
fish face.
So I actually wanted to do this, which is really interesting because I'd sat there and I was like sitting there one day and I was talking to Rodney and I go, Rodney, who's like some of the biggest mama's boys that we know, or mamas whose boys pretty much is the best way to kind of clarify, because I kind of went off of that whole thing, which I thought it was going to be taken kind of weird. But I'm like, that's what they are. They're mama's boys. Like they are the ones that like that parent that sits out there in that bleacher that's just like, oh my God, will you stop? like it's funny because I've gotten to some of those like even responses like, well, can I bring my cowbell or
Yeah.
my clackers and all these other things? And it's funny because like it's true. Like they show up with and it's all to embarrass the hell out of you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so we're gonna talk about some of those things, like some of the embarrassed moments that you went through, which I really want to hear.
That
Dude, where do we
face.
start, man? I got a
It's
list.
like-
We can start anywhere.
At the time of the womb separating, it's like
Dude, she was cheering me on coming out, man. I was
it was from the start.
from the beginning.
No, and so another thing too is obviously I want to kind of hear both the good and the bad as a parent, because like we do, like people don't understand, like while you guys are playing, okay, and depending on the caliber of the child on the football team, you hear the good and the bad. And so, there's so many times I guarantee you your moms wanted to just clock somebody, and,
It wasn't me, it was Jam.
Yeah, it was my grandma first.
oh, and by the way, I met your grandmother.
Yeah.
She came up to me at the Senior Bowl in Phoenix, and she made sure what's it, Grammy Gram? Or
Jam.
yeah.
Jammy Jam?
Just Jam.
Jam.
Just Jam.
Jam.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because she made sure that I knew that she was Jam.
That's her name. No one calls her anything but
I was
Jam.
like, okay.
Okay,
my whole
Jam.
football team, my whole school, for a matter of fact, call her Jam. Everyone knows it's
That's
Jam.
what she told me.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, the whole team, everybody knows me as Jam.
Even people in the hallways I never met, they're like, "How's Jam?" I'm like,
I'm
Great.
Mama Roberts, she's Jam.
oh yeah.
Okay.
Just
okay.
You walk down the school, you'll hear everyone either Jam, Mama Roberts, like whatever.
Why are you both in the schools?
Listen, we're there all the time.
I thought they had a 500-foot ban.
It's like-
Now
like,
they do.
Didn't you graduate?
Right.
No, so let's kind of like, because I really don't have any direction with this. I hit you up a while ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, look, I want to do this show. And actually, you were the first person that I actually contacted because I'm like, oh my God, who's the one who, I had a list. There's a list. And Allison, you're on that list where you just know that this mom is involved with her kid. And like, so I was like, hey Jen, what's up? And I think I text you even way before like you were even up. Like I was like, this was like an epiphany, like 4 o'clock thing. I'm like, like people like, well, do you not go to sleep? And it's like, no, I really don't. But like, yeah, I was like, oh, Jen, I have this idea. Da, 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 and it's tink. And she's like, I think probably when you got up ready to go to work or whatever the case was, or just to get your kids ready. I don't know.
My kids don't think I work.
They don't.
No.
That's okay.
Money just magically falls from the sky. Yeah.
But anyway, so let's start off. Give me a really good embarrassing moment, Brett.
Man, I don't know.
Wait, hold on. By the time, this is Jen and Brett Roberts from Mountain View, and yeah, we're gonna get into this. Go ahead.
So the one that I first think of, I would say it's less embarrassing for me, more embarrassing for her. So when I used to wrestle
man.
back at Tortolita, these meets had maybe 30 people, and it was all parents, and we were in a tight little middle school cafeteria.
Is this the Dunn son?
Yeah.
I hate your face right now.
Stop interrupting.
Yeah, for real, let me tell the story.
Yeah.
So she always was like, oh, no one's stronger. And she's like screaming at the top of her lungs, and like she's a very high-pitched, distinguishable voice. So like everyone knew it was always her. And one day I was wrestling this kid, and this mom was competing on who could be louder with her. So like this guy I'm wrestling's mom is like screaming as loud as she can, like, let's go, boy. And my mom's over here like, come on, Brett, no one's stronger. And then I just take this kid down, throw a quick half, pin him real fast.
Right.
Once the ref smacks the mat, my mom stands up and goes, done, son, as loud as she can. And like
It was
everyone,
so embarrassing. Worst moment of my life, swear. Like,
No, it wasn't.
everyone in
Yes.
everyone in the cafeteria looks at her because that poor kid just got whooped. And my mom is promoting.
She's like, meat and potatoes.
Yeah. She's like, how's that? So like this poor kid's like defeated, this mom's defeated, and my mom's over here jumping. Yeah.
You're that one like that's standing over her, like,
Yeah.
like,
How does it feel?
I said, if this mom comes and kicks my butt, I'm just going to take it because I had that coming. Like, that was so awful of me and embarrassing for sure. But
wow.
I love my kid. Like, there's.
Oh, I know.
But I'm better. I thought you were going to tell the story about when I got took out at the sidelines.
Go ahead.
That wasn't
Give
me.
one. Go ahead and enlighten us on that one.
We were actually
Don't open it up.
we were on offense, and I was sitting on the sideline, and she was pretty close to me. And I want to say it was Lloyd Johnson from last year was running up the sideline, and he got taken out by that left safety. He flew into our side of the field, and like Thad, one of our returning linemen, picked up Lexi, one of our photographers.
Right.
But no one
me.
told my mom someone was coming. So just a few of the football players trampled over with my mom
I
too.
just got trucked. Like, just straight laid out, flat. Like, they have video of it. It's super cool.
She didn't get her hitting skills. I didn't get my hitting skills from her for
wow.
sure.
I took his butt down on Mom's Day.
So
I let her.
So just so people can also understand, how were you involved? Not just, I mean, there's obviously the Friday night mom who like nobody knows. She just shows up. Go Charles, and then there's the elaborate like, I'm in the stands, go, and then there's where you're actually on the field.
Yeah.
And like, what else were you doing to help his program just so you could be closer to the most beautiful child in the world, which I constantly got told.
Yeah.
He's so handsome.
I'm a
He's
handsome
trying-
fellow.
Yeah,
You
oh
don't
my
think
God.
so?
Stop. Just stop. Stop. So anyways, so no, kind of tell us what you did.
I think there was a lot that I did. I had an amazing team, so it definitely wasn't just me. But every Thursday night, we fed the boys. We got food donated. Jam and I helped get 63 sponsors for the football team, so we were able to buy like Guardian helmets, things like that, and pretty much new uniforms, anything the kids needed. I also took all of their photos, so I did all the senior photos, all the senior banners. I did all their action shots, and what I think I'm known for more than anything is my gummies at halftime.
Oh yeah.
So I
Talk
have
that business.
The watermelon gummies or Sour Patch Kids, just gummies.
Okay.
Calm
I
down.
just wanted to
Calm
make
down.
sure.
Yeah. No.
Sometimes the Mountain View bench was a little mellow.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't feeling anything out there.
It's like,
Nobody
right.
could hit them hard enough to feel it.
go
right?
on with your gummies.
And so like at halftime, and like these boys are my world, like truly and
Right.
honestly, not just him. Like, we dealt with everything from kids being homeless, abused, having emancipation issues, all sorts of- addiction. Yeah. I mean, it just was, it was my family. These were my kids,
Right,
and
right.
like, obviously he was my favorite, but on the football team, but definitely all of them were my boys.
And
all
at
of
home.
them were my kids, whatever. He's in the top 3, 4. top 4. Kayla may be watching top 4. But no, and then we did all sorts of things. Like I had a snack bag for everybody because there were times that kids didn't have food before they came on the football field.
Okay.
And then, gosh, it's so hard to list everything that we did. There was just so many things. When I first came into the program, it was a hot mess. We had a ton of jerseys that were just thrown on the floor. And it was disgusting. There was mice.
Pull that mic back to you.
Oh,
I want to just make sure I'm getting all that. Go ahead.
There was mice poop all over the floor.
You know what? That's interesting that you bring this up. Like the like mouse infestations and stuff like that in some of these schools.
It's crazy.
That like people don't talk about. It's like, hey, look, we need to really get something. So, all right. Because, and I actually know that some of the other schools that actually have this problem. So how did you get that fixed? Did you like let 12 cats inside the and say, did you? No.
I mean,
It
if
could've
Pete
worked.
is watching, then yes. No, just mouse traps. And I just paid for them with my own money, and we set up mouse traps, and then we just cleaned the crap out of that room because it was disgusting. Like, we didn't have a complete set of jerseys because some of them had disappeared, which is cool, whatever, it happens. So it was totally rebuilding the first year I was there. I've been there 5 years.
Okay.
So my oldest son played football his freshman year and sophomore. Did he play his junior?
No, just freshman year.
He's back, yeah. So I've always been a part of the program for the past 5 years. This is my last year, which is crazy being part of football, but now I'm doing soccer.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, just mice traps and just making sure everything was clean because I think sometimes when a season is over, coaches are so maxed because we max them out. You know, they're exhausted that they're just like, I don't want one more thing on my plate.
Well, also, I think what people fail to remember too is how little the coaches get paid.
100%.
And then on top of that, how little support sometimes they get from their athletic directors or their school district.
Right.
And that's something that I've brought up and talked about multiple times. So when you're talking about, hey, look, we got to do these kind of things. It's the nitty gritty, like weird things that like people don't tend to talk about. And depending on how strong your either your booster club is or some kind of parent volunteering kind of thing or situation like that, that's what's actually going to make a huge foundational like strength for any kind of football program. It takes those parents, and it's so sad because like you're talking about Mountain View, which, let's be honest, is looked at as one of the better schools, and when you start going further to the inner city, you start realizing, oh wow, she's talking about this school, and I don't want to like point fingers at like the Marana School District and say, hey, look, get this mice shit cleaned up, stuff like that, or stuff like that. But it's just little things that slip through the cracks of paying attention to that make a big difference. And to have people like you, that are obviously just not just there for their kids, but kind of helping out even more is like cool.
Well, and that's like a hard thing because like we always have freshman parents that come in and think that everything should be squared away and perfect and ran really well. And the truth is that we're not a Texas or Oklahoma school where like, what I'm saying? They have more of the funding. They have we have budget cuts for like, it feels like everything. And don't get me wrong, David Romero takes amazing care of us. Nate Orlip did a great job with football. It does tend to be the baby because it does bring in more money. Right. However, it's hard because with as much effort as I put in there, it's still not amazing. Do you know what I'm saying? There's always room for improvement. And I think that that's hard for freshman parents to come in because they think it should be like this really epic, amazing.
My years of Pop Warner are done. There you go.
Yeah, and it does take a village because cutbacks are everywhere. Like when I needed shelves, they're like, oh, well, you have to pay for them. And I'm like, the school doesn't pay for shelves like in the actual school. It was like weird things to me that we had to come up with money or ways to work around. And I think that they also think, oh, well, the school pays for this, this, and this. And I'm like, no, school doesn't pay for any of that. Like we had to raise that money and come out of pocket without having to do 47 fundraisers like in Pop Warner.
Right.
In Pop Warner, we did a ton of fundraisers. When we were with Broncos, we had to raise $60-some-odd thousand for jerseys. Like, it was insane. was crazy. And then you're also not paying a fee to be on the football team. I mean, it's $60, $75.
With your involvement as much as you were, did you get to sometimes just watch your kid?
Yeah, because I was sideline.
So that was the big thing for you, was to be on the sidelines.
Oh yeah, and it was funny because a lot of kids were like, Brett, why are you in all the pictures? And it's like, that's my only way to watch the game is through like a little tiny, the back of the hole of my camera,
All those moms that are doing the video recording and everything to try to help with some of the elements to try and get their kids on to the next level. People don't understand. It's like, I didn't get to watch the game. Maybe later, like when I get to go home and kind of chill and watch the game that way. But you don't, something like you missed it. Oops, I missed it.
I always told her, she's always like, that's how I watch the game. I was like, nah, I was always in the mess.
Yeah, I was always in the
I was always by the ball.
That's Brett for you. But I wouldn't take back anything. Like I would do the pictures again in a heartbeat. I wouldn't take it back. It meant a lot to the kids. And it meant a lot to me. I got to be in the moment.
Oh, I loved it.
And there was times where I could grab a kid by his pads and be like, knock it off. Like, enough. And it's funny because I think sometimes they're more scared of me than coaches sometimes because I won't feed them.
Right. So, okay, that brings up another thing. You talk about those pregame meals and stuff like that. Sometimes parents don't understand how important those pregame meals are for people. And it's so interesting for me to have like all these parents who actually jump in and they're like, hey, look, let's get this. Let's help these kids out. Because you don't even know when that kid ate last.
No, you don't.
And, we don't understand. It's a blessing that we have parents like you. Your son has a mother like you, because there are a lot of moms that like, hey, look, if they ever showed up, like I remember I got yelled at because it said, hey, look, inner city parents don't care. And it wasn't me saying, I don't know if you guys remember this conversation. It wasn't me saying that the inner city parents don't care. It's me saying like, in the struggle with the inner city parents, it's different. Like, for instance, you're currently married, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But is it his father? No. So he steps in, he helps out. You actually have, and what do you do? What is your job? What do you do? Your job.
Do we talk about the OnlyFans page?
Oh my goodness! Stop it!
Just kidding.
Oh wow! You heard it here first. OnlyFans.
No, that makes me so pressed when she says stuff like that. She's like, "I'm gonna start selling feet pigs." I'm like, "I'm gonna fight you." You're still my mom. Don't tell people
You're
that.
expensive. No, so I'm a photographer.
Right.
I'm also a CrossFit coach, and I also work for a brokerage for insurance,
Okay.
like Home and Auto.
So doing all kinds. Now I knew you did the CrossFit stuff, and you actually came from a huge battle yourself, and that's one of your big, like, I'll see you in your Facebook stories and stuff like that, and talking about, because you've come from, where were you at originally?
260 pounds.
260. And you now?
I'm not gonna tell you how much I weigh now, but I'll give you a hint. I lost over 120 pounds.
So, there's nothing wrong with being proud of it. Like I'm like, hey, it's a good story. And for you, like, you're constantly informing people, hey, look, get out, just walk, just go do this, just start. It's funny, just like when I'll even talk to people when it comes down to the social media aspect, just push, like, record. If you're not pushing record, nothing's happening. So it's really cool to see like that aspect for you, just on a personal scale. And then obviously chasing around him on the sidelines and everybody else. I mean, it probably helped to lose a couple of those pounds,
Well, and it's good now that I'm coaching, because I was in charge of social media for Mountain View, and he's probably gonna be mad at me for saying this, but it's all right. He sent me a video of his power clean. I said, I'm not posting that. He says, why not? I'm like, your form's terrible. I'm not posting that. I'm not telling people that's how my kid power cleans.
Really?
It was the most. It was like 340 pounds. It was like, it's pretty postable to me.
No, that's not postable. His knees caved in. It was trash. I'm like, do it right and I'll post it.
It's a lot of weight.
It's not like, that was my max. I'll go ahead and do it tomorrow.
Yeah,
let's run it again.
Tea time at 7 tomorrow.
All right.
Did I end up posting it once you fixed it?
Well, once I fixed it, yeah, I made a better video later on, and then she posted it. But
yeah,
some of the kids she posts, it's like their form's iffy, but she doesn't have the same standard.
So was there any embarrassment of your mom being around all the time?
Embarrassment? I'd say no.
Give me something.
For the most part, no. I mean, what was difficult was I never really got put in the loop of things. because she knew everything, Jam knew everything. I was never told anything. So like Thursday night practices, we always were fed after Thursday night. And the 54 kids on varsity come up to me, what's for dinner? What's for dinner? I don't know. They haven't told me. Well, you can't call your mom? We're at practice. What do you mean I can't call my mom? 7 in the morning. We just got back from Phoenix at like 2 in the morning. I got a text at 7. Like, are the pictures done yet? Dude, she's sleeping. Like, I'm supposed to be sleeping. I can't move right now. Let me sleep.
Right.
But I'd say there's nothing really embarrassing about it. It was more of just like kind of like tediously annoying of people constantly asking things of me that I didn't have the answer for because it was her.
Right.
Oh, so I kind of want to backtrack a little bit, Chris. We talked about, I love when my sister's like my biggest fan. And so is Jessica. Love her. Her husband is, well, are we allowed to say that? Coach Reed. He's amazing.
Oh,
Ray
okay.
Reed.
Coach Ray Reed.
That guy is fire, man. He is fire. You can never say he doesn't have passion.
Oh, I know Reed.
Oh, yeah. That's my guy.
He's
And we're talking hoodie Reed, not Cash Money, because there's 2 different Reeds.
well the Reed that coached over at the school, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
the
two.
our linebacker specialist, Ray Reed. He's always in a hoodie. That's why I call him Hoodie
Yeah.
Reed.
Okay, but wait, I want to go back to the whole
Keep
mama's.
going back. Go back.
I know, sorry,
We have nothing but time. Go back.
Yeah, the mama's boy. You know how we kind of like you touched a little bit on that, and I think that there always was like a bad like context to being a mama's boy, right? Like that means that that's a kid that like his mom
That's
does
why
absolutely.
I totally took on the name.
Yeah, totally does like everything for him. And I have no problem saying that my kids are mama's boys for the simple fact that I have raised strong, independent children.
Right.
And I don't think I think they know I'll be there for them no matter what, but I don't think they rely on me for everything. You know, like I have raised a gentleman. I posted this a couple days ago. Like it was so hard going on a hike with him and his girlfriend because he took such gentle, loving care for her as he should. Right?
Right.
And I'm over here like falling face first in the water and he's like, you're good, Mom, you're good, you know? But that's the role he's supposed to take. And that is a huge adjustment as a mom as well that we take for granted because we think that our boys are going to be there forever and our little babies. And that's been an adjustment. Like that's the season my friends and I are going through and adjusting to raising kids that are independent and want to do things the way they want and have way too much testosterone going on in their world. But I tell you what, I wouldn't change anything I did because I know I'm a good mom for the simple fact that everything I did was out of love. You know?
right.
And I think that sometimes we are so hard on ourselves because of the choices that our kids make or the things our kids do. And I don't think that we take into consideration that we're not responsible for their choices, we're responsible for their consequences. Then there's only so much you could do to raise a kid, and then they've got to figure the rest out on their own. You know? Were there things that I would do different as a mom? No.
Right.
Not at all. Because I know that I gave everything I possibly could. And I always joke with my friends and I say, you're going to screw your kid up some way or another.
Yep.
So just love them through it because we all are guessing as parents. We're all trying to figure it out.
You didn't get the handbook? I
didn't.
gave one out.
You gave, and
She,
so-
she screwed me up when she dropped me on my head.
yeah, first of all, that was your dad, not me.
Oh, wow. You want to elaborate on being dropped on your head?
I don't
Since you
remember.
brought it up.
I don't remember.
First concussion.
First concussion was actually during football.
Wouldn't that be the first concussion when your
That-
dad dropped you on your head?
So then second one was with Ore Valley Dolphins.
No, it was the Broncos. This was when I was playing flag football. I want to say like 5. This is when I played with Josh. Josh Roman.
Okay.
I was like 5, 6, I think. This is like when it was Josh Roman and I. And we were doing the drill where you had to pull their flags. But like the whole idea was to stay like a fundamental tackles, stay square, get both flags. And I was like committed too heavy on one of them. And I took his flags and went head to head, hit the ground, and it was all derp derp.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't
everything.
even think we call them concussions.
No.
No, we just call them seeing stars.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fine. You're still stars.
Got your bolts a little loose.
Yeah.
Once your eyes straighten out, you're good. Go back out.
You just hit him in the back of the head.
At least 2 to 3 times a practice, you get a little bit of a bell ring. You're like, ooh.
So I know. Here's an interesting thing. So I get this all the time. How did you know? Okay, so let's say I run into parents all the time that'll say, "Which school should I send my kid to? Where should I send him?" Or they'll get into a certain, like maybe a year or two into the season or into their schools and be like, you know what? I don't know if we got the right one here. Should we go? How would you sell or would you sell Mountain View?
I think I would sell Mountain View. I would sell it based off of not only like the coaching standpoint, but of course, we've done fairly well in fundraising. We definitely have a pretty good history. Would I not sell any school? There might be a few, but for the most part, I'd sell pretty much any school. I mean, if they have good coaches and a good program, like our weight room, 2 to 3 times a year gets new stuff. Like we just got new bars. We actually just took apart our old squat racks. We're getting new squat racks sometime next month, I think. So it's just constantly getting updated.
Right.
So, I mean, as long as there's enough people to play football, why not?
Greatest part about Mountain View football?
His mom.
I really enjoyed a lot of work with Coach Reed, my linebacker specialist.
Okay.
We had a lot of fun times. We had a lot of bad times. But we had a lot of fun times. And probably for football, definitely we did comp. So we'd hit every Monday and Wednesday. Tuesday and Thursday were like Tuesday was our full pad day. Thursday was just helmets. But Monday and Wednesday, we always did team 1 offense versus team 1 defense. Right. And of course, there's a few 2-way starters, and every once in a while they swap. But it was the offense had 4 plays to get a first down, and the defense had those 4 plays to stop them. Man, there was nothing more fun because like you get to go 100% against other people all the time, but it's way more fun going 100% against your friends because that's when the trash talk goes out the window because you could talk trash, but it's all fun and games until it's time to play the game.
Now you were, and just so people know, you were a linebacker.
Yes.
You had an amazing record, right? I thought he was one of the top, if not the top.
I was the top, yes.
Tacklers each year. I know.
Not my junior. My junior year, I was top 10. My senior year, I was 1 for tackles and sacks.
Okay, so I know you were up. You were at least up there. You were always the top on your team for the most part.
Yeah, my coach actually made me stop putting in my stats because teams started getting double and triple team the whole time.
You were looking. We know. No,
yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I was boosting him a little bit. I was like, that looked like a tackle. I was on the sideline.
Yeah.
It's like, so now here's the funnier thing too, Mom. As a parent, I know this is what started the whole So AZ thing. Was I was a single dad, and I didn't know how to get my kids seen, going to college, any kind of like I was totally clueless. Like I tell people all the time, it's like, I didn't play football. I was a DJ here in town, all this other stuff, so on and so on. And actually my ex's family was better known for football. So, I wind up becoming a single dad and I'm like, wow, I have this social media platform pretty much from my DJing stuff. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to start helping out my son. How do I do it? And everything that I learned, I would post up. So where did you find your help? Where was and you told me earlier today, you were like, hey, I'm not even going off to play football. Mm-mm. So you're going off to?
The University of Arizona has an accelerated medical program, and I'm taking part in that.
Are you like kinesiology or
orthopedics? So
orthopedics.
For my undergraduate, it's just basic medicine for the accelerated medical program.
Right.
And then I of course have my medical school, which with the accelerated program, instead of the 8 years of the 4 and 4, it's going to be 6 to 7.
So you obviously your GPA was okay.
Yeah, it was decent. Yeah,
it's now.
My sophomore year during COVID, I never really had like the reason to go to school with those online classes. Because like I wasn't even allowed to play football, so I really didn't do anything.
Gotcha. About it.
Yeah. So finally, when it rolled around, I was able to come back to school, and they showed me my GPA. Like I never failed a class, but there was a few where it was like, hey, you should probably start kicking overdrive. And I redid a few classes, not because I failed, but because it boosts your GPA. So I redid a few classes and
key point right there, redoing them. So did she or was it like you already knew you needed to?
So a former coach of mine was actually in charge of the retaking the classes. And when he saw my grades slip, because he was also in charge of if you have a bad grade, you're going to run.
That would be Coach Lara.
Yeah, Coach Sean Lara. He's cool. Now Morena's wrestling coach, but I mean.
Big heart, totally for the kids.
I love that guy.
Not only that, like very informative and educational on the kids.
Mm-hmm. So he actually told me I needed to take a few classes. So I redid those classes. And honestly, anyone who's ever gotten like a D or even wants a higher GPA, I would retake those classes because most of the classes online are a lot easier because you choose your pace. And 24/7, there's always someone to help you for the most part. So in my opinion, it was easier than going to school, sitting in a room and having to listen, because you could actually choose your pace and do it that way. And if you needed help, you could text the teacher and she'd answer you within 15 minutes max.
So huge towards the GPA.
Well, yeah, and like there was a couple schools that were like, "Hey, Brett, like let's see what's your GPA," and he'd tell them, and they're like, "We'd offer you, but your GPA is just not there yet."
There was 2 Ivy League schools that called, and they were like, "Just get it up to this, and we'll get you on. Just get it up to this, we'll get you on." And then they actually provided me a few resources. I got a few numbers for a few tutors, and I was like, "Oh, well, I mean, it's free. I'll use it."
Like that's the thing. Like I don't think people, because when you're a freshman and sophomore, you're just like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with my football career. I'm just out here having fun, busting heads for the most part, you know?
Right.
But I think that was the thing that held him back a little bit. But I mean, like he had a 4.0 finishing, like, I mean, he's got straight A's now.
Yeah,
you know
for the past since
So is that
junior
your
year.
cumulative, or is that?
No.
So for the past
It's
2
like, we got 4.0 now, but
for
you know, it's
the
like,
my junior year, my senior year were both 4.0s. So
Okay.
my sophomore year, I want to say it was like a 2.6.
do you know what your cumulative?
It's like a 3.3 right now. I think it ended up
Okay.
being. So my sophomore year is when I didn't do my schoolwork. So I think I came out of that at like a 2.6, right?
Okay.
And then just those 2
Just
years
that
of
year.
retaking those classes, I got it up to a 3.3. There's no
Okay,
better.
so the cumulative was about 2.6 coming out of your
Yeah.
or was it just that year?
No, cumulative, it was coming out at 2.6.
okay.
And then not only my coaches, but my parents and then a few of those colleges were like, you should probably pay attention. I was like,
And obviously you're like, when he's like, hey, look, I need to jump up this, you're gung ho.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely.
Obviously.
Why wouldn't you? I think the class was like $100.
yeah.
And it
just
was like,
ridiculous.
it was a no-brainer.
But see, a lot of parents don't know that their kids can even really do that. And then the other part is, I mean, I think what happens is a lot of athletes and parents as well don't understand that your cumulative GPA starts day one that you walk into the school. And that's what's going to be a big thing. Now, you telling me just right now, you have a 3.3 GPA somewhere in that area, ballpark or whatnot. You could have went off and played football somewhere,
Yeah.
but you're choosing to stay home, just go to the U of A. And I mean, are you going to try and walk on there, or is that
I'm not. So
just like no?
I had my fair share of opportunities to play for whatever division I wanted, but end all be all, I don't see myself going in the NFL and using football as my career.
Right.
So I decided to apply for the accelerated medicine, and that's been my lifelong dream. Of
So
course,
the medicine stuff is more of like what your focus was anyway.
yeah, I've always wanted to be a doctor. So like Thursday nights, we're either a JV freshman game at our field. So I'd go to my practice, I'd eat, and I'd head right over to partake in sports medicine because
Right, because you were doing the sports training stuff.
Miss O, our athletic trainer, she's
Love
amazing.
her. Oh my God, love her.
Isn't she
Who
awesome?
doesn't?
She's done everything for me. Like she's
You
still
know
to
that
this day.
she's been working for that school since I was in school.
Oh yeah, 34 years.
Like I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
like wow.
Crazy.
But she to this day she sends me scholarship opportunities. She tries to introduce me to people. I actually just took a test for her, and I had like the highest score that she's gotten, and it was like top 1 percentile. And I got like 2 emails. One of them was a school in Milwaukee offering me an annual $26,000 scholarship just for the fact that I took that test and got a pretty good score on it. And I was like,
Nice.
so she's definitely always providing me opportunities, and she's awesome. She's the coolest
Right.
person ever. She's like my best friend.
So resources are in the schools. It's just like, and let's go ahead and hit this up. You know, as a parent, how do you help out finding some of these resources, or was it mostly him doing it, or like? There's a lot of, like, I see it like this. There's a lot of parents that, hey, look, as long as I'm not getting yelled at by these school, like the principal or the teachers and stuff like that, my son must be doing fine. I'm not worried about it. But there's like a huge difference of being involved. Once again, you know, the whole mama's boy kind of concept where you're involved with your kid and trying to give him the opportunities. Like, how did you find out about some? Obviously, you were involved with the school, so I mean, it's probably easier to talk there.
Well, like if you know Brett is like 0 to 60. Like there's no middle.
I know.
Like he is like go all the time. And if you've played 7-on-7s, if you've been around Mountain View, you know who Brett is. Like he will introduce himself to every single person. And I think a lot of that was something that I instilled in him. Like you shake everyone's hand in a room before you sit down. Like don't put your butt on a couch until you have shook every hand. And so I think that he has been trained and shown how to meet people and open up opportunities for himself and others, you know? So I think all of it was Brett, dead honest. You know, we created that foundation in him, and then he just ran with it. He took off and ran. It was funny. We were at the U of A football camp, and is it Pow?
Coach Pow Pow, yeah.
Coach Pow was he was talking to Brett. And Brett's like, dude, you got to meet my friend. You got to meet this is my friend. This is my other friend. This is my other friend. And he's like networking within that. And that's something that him and I both are really good at, right? And so Brett will come to me and say, hey, I need to do stuff with the orthopedic surgeon. Okay, well, how about Rex Cooley, you know, who I went to high school with his wife, you know? And so like we all have these connections because everyone should be your friend. Like you should be able to have a conversation with anyone and everyone. And I think that's a part of, I don't know, our personalities. Like we just love people. We love being around people. We love hearing stories, and then it opens up doors. So I think that for him, like the whole Coach Lara thing was huge. Like he wrestled with Coach Lara for Coach Lara and was on his freshman team. And don't get me wrong, Coach Lara and I at the very beginning, we butted heads, and I'd be on the sidelines and I would just be like, oh my gosh. But now I would do anything for that man. He is amazing and he truly loves the kids. But as far as pushing, I don't think I pushed Brett. It was more of like the way I parent is I bumper, right? Like, so like I'm almost like a pinball machine. And like a lot of people think that I would be super controlling. There's certain things I don't tolerate, but I don't find myself as a controlling parent. I have other issues.
But it's good to have those foundations in a home.
Yeah.
And it's often too unfortunate that those foundations aren't found in a home. Like, hey, moms, like once again, you're blessed to be in a relationship. You know, obviously I'm going to have single parents come in, you know, talking their things and stuff like that. People always think that having both parents, or whether it's even like just a marriage parent or whatever the case is always easier. Sometimes it's not, because sometimes, like, I'll tell you what, like as a single father, it was easier for me not to have to deal with somebody else. Okay, so we're going to do this, and I had my list. And I'm just trotting down. You have like a home, like an actual parenting kind of grouping. It's difficult because it's like, well, so what do we need? And you're trying to work with somebody else, and sometimes that becomes a whole different obstacle that we don't talk about as single parents. Because I mean, it's like, who's picking up the kids? Mm-hmm. Are you going to do this? Well, I thought you had that. You know, you don't have that kind of problem as a single parent.
Well, and I think that, like, don't get me wrong, I've sat on every spectrum of a parent side.
Oh well, see, and that's the beautiful thing about you is that when you're and you did the Booster Club as well, right?
Yes.
So when you're involved with the Booster Club, when you're involved, like you're saying, like, these are my kids, you actually get to know some of those stories, and it's like they're not always clean or like good stories. Like,
right.
There's some ugly stories.
Right.
I mean,
well, when I say like sit on every side, like, so I was married to his dad. Then I was a single mom. And then I got married. Do you know what I'm saying? So I have sat on every side of that table of being in a 2-parent home to being a single parent to being in a home where, like, I love my husband more than anything in the world. But his role is more like supportive, not... I'm your dad, you're going to do what I say, you know? And so that is a difficult dynamic too. And I think that there's difficult sides to every single aspect. And I wouldn't say one is harder than the other. I would just say they're all different. Mm-hmm. And you just put your big girl panties on and make it happen. Like,
well, that's true.
Yeah, you know, like, and that's the thing, like, that I think, you know, we talked about before. That was a hard thing when I would have parents come to me and complain about things that were so trivial to me. You know, and Johnson is amazing at this. He says, at the end of the day, when a parent complains, it's because that parent loves their kids with everything and want what is best for their kid. But me, I'm sitting over here going, I don't care about the fact that I don't want to bring up stuff, but like, I don't care about this little trivia thing when I've got a kid that doesn't even have a home. Right. You know, and so there's just so many aspects to being a parent.
To piggyback off that Johnson thing, he always had this saying where, you know, if he'd take a kid off team 1 and put him on team 2, if we had a new playbook, if we had something new and someone had to complain about it, he was always like, you guys can email me at coachjohnsonsucks@gmail.com. And it was hilarious because everything we do is like, oh, everyone get on the line, it's time for sprints. You know, it's like, you could email me at coachjohnsonsucks.com. And like, to piggyback off that statement with like the opportunities thing, I think our coaching staff, that's a big plus side with them, is the opportunity they provide, you know, because both Coach Reeds played college football. So they have their coaches, and of course they've met a lot of people in their journeys with coaching.
Coach
You know,
Johnson played too.
and Coach Johnson played,
He
but
was at Amphi while I was at Flowing Wells.
oh yeah, he played
We
Amphi, and then he went
Like,
NAU.
I didn't know that we were the same age, pretty much.
Yeah, you're like, hey.
It's like, you know, when you feel really young and all of a sudden it's like, oh, shit.
Oh man,
that coach, like that coach.
The
But-
first time Johnson told me I was old, I was all like, you do know you come to me for money, right, boss? Like, you could, like, come on now.
No, you're old.
but with
true.
like with
Don't
Coach
tell me.
Johnson, you know, he coached actually one of the coaches at U of A, so I always had a direct hotline to them. You know, in AU I had hotline. AS there was always a college that he'd know somebody,
Something,
so I was always constantly in contact with someone. And then even Coach Reed for like Coach Hoodie Reed for my highlight tapes and everything. Not only was he our linebacker specialist, but of course he's made so many. He has that insight on not only how to make the video, but how to make the video visually appealing. So I was constantly going to him like, is this a good highlight? What do you think about this highlight reel? And he's always like, oh, you should move this video to this video, this one first. That's a good play. That's a terrible play to put in. So like things like that. He always had that insight that honestly probably made it a lot bit better for me on both ends.
Well, and we have a freaking amazing community. Like, I don't think people understand how many resources you have. You just have to ask and know. Like, for instance, Del Arvayo. Okay, he owes me nothing. Like, literally, like,
Del's
so
a
I
great guy.
coached his wife and his daughter in CrossFit, right? And
And then you had his nephew.
yeah.
Dylan.
And then like, so I just messaged him. I'm like, hey, would you be willing to sit down with Brett and like go over his film? And he said, absolutely. And he sat down and tore Brett's film apart and said, look, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this, like this. And was amazing to him out of nowhere. Alec Bond, he's a coach for Sal Point,
Okay.
you know, and he said,
Speaking of Alec, if Alec's watching this, you actually owe me lunch. He told me if I keep my straight A's that he'd buy me lunch, and I'm hungry.
You're like, wow, okay.
But like, what
yeah.
coach does that? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he's a Sal Point coach. He doesn't care about. Doesn't have to care about Brett. He's a Sal
Right.
Point coach, you know. And he said, "You get straight A's, and I'll buy you lunch." You know. And so, actually, we're going the week of your grad party.
I think
Are we? Woo!
I think a lot of us just want to encourage. Like, my son's gone. You know, 2021, he's been gone, and for me, like, I'm not dedicated to Cienega. That's where he went. You guys will see me everywhere, and I love it. And it's funny to me because like I get random kids that'll come up, and it's like you can impact a kid. All you got to do is do something. Like I said, I never played. I didn't have like these coach contacts and all this other. It's me going through the processes and all this other stuff, and talking to the parents and talking to the kids and everything like that's got me to this place that I am right now. And it's just a blessing to me because honestly, it's fun. Mm-hmm. It's cool to like have kids that, you know, hey, I've trust me. And I know your stories because I've had kids that are, you know, really wealthy kind of thing, all the way down to, hey, look, you know, you drop him off, he's climbing through a window, you know, trying to get like, and it's just what it is. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, and you just start realizing the spread from like, you know, you can talk about like a Choya kid, or we can talk about a Sal Point kid, or all these other, you know, everything in between, or Santa Rita kids. I had a Santa Rita kid, just graduated, and he was just like, had no clue or direction or anything, like living with other people and stuff, exactly what you're saying, like homeless. He didn't know what he was doing.
What's really cool about Mountain View is we have that like a really good variety of, you know, kids that are fighting for every meal, and then we have kids that pull up in a Escalade with food for everybody. But one thing our school does really well is not even the coaches alone, but even some of the people in our CCC, like Miss Ray. I love Miss Ray. They're constantly going around seeing if kids need jobs because, Home Depot has a spot. So let's see if we could get a Mountain View kid to go to Home Depot.
Nice.
So they're always trying to get you either a job or a place to go. We have I want to say it's like semi-annual. We do like 2 meetings a year at our school about like, you're going to graduate soon. Do you have a job? Do you have goals? Like, what are you trying to do? Set goals, set these ideas on how you're going to progress in the future, which I think Mountain View does well. And even with like Coach Johnson, he's actually talked to a few kids about coming back and either interim coaching, things like that, even just to help them out, just so they have some sort of place to either get them off of the street or from making bad decisions. because a lot of those kids just need something to do. They're not bad kids or bad people. They just need something to occupy their time so they don't fall in those bad areas.
They just had bad situations.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely. So you had talked earlier about like how we felt, like choosing a school. I think whatever school you choose, you're gonna find something you don't like.
It's you know what I think what it is you got to kind of find that school that the community fits you.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I've seen some really great things over at Pueblo. Coach Allen,
Love him.
Coach Allen's been doing some really cool things. I mean, he's
I
actually
work at his brother's gym. So at Onward, CrossFit Onward. Have you seen his weight room?
oh yeah,
Oh my gosh.
It's state of the art.
over at Pueblo.
Oh, yeah,
my
it's nice.
So we
Even,
just got 80 cases of Gatorade donated to them because we were raising money at CrossFit Onward for Gatorade for them. And I
Right.
said, Clay, we're not doing this. I was like, Jake, listen, I'll hook you up. We got this. We got Ethel actually helped us get 80 cases donated to them. And we're working on getting like granola bars because those kids literally like don't have meals sometimes. They don't sit down with family, you know, and that is their family.
The meal thing. Our coaches used to do peanut butter and jelly at lunch. So Coach Wolf had a classroom. Coach Laura had a classroom. You'd go in there. You'd make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You could take 1, 2, 3, and then you'd leave. Like even if kids who had lunch and they were just a little bit extra hungry and knew they had practice, they could just take a sandwich for later. And for the most part, for what I know, the coaches funded it.
A good guy, Coach Virgil, over at Choya. I know he does that same thing, and I went over there when I was interviewing kids with Javier Morales.
Yeah.
And we went in there, and like these kids, like they're just mobbed up. It's like going in, getting something to eat. You know.
Speaking of those weight rooms, have you seen Flowing Wells do weight room?
You know what? I posted some of that stuff up.
That thing is
know?
nice.
You know, and it's good for these kids to have something to be proud of.
100%.
Because I mean, I remember posting up pictures of I got hit up by I'm not going to drop the coach's name. He's no longer at the school, but it was over at Choya. Hit me up with some of the pictures of like literally the wall tiles falling down. The urinal was like busted off. Like it was condemned. Like the kids couldn't even use the football, like the locker room. I think they had to use a different locker room at the time or whatnot. And it had like literally, it was condemned.
That's crazy.
And it's like, come on, guys. Like,
do better.
For the most part, our coach makes us clean. You know, he's like, if you're gonna take pride in
there's
something, take
nothing
pride
wrong
in it.
with that. I think that's great.
I cleaned. I was varsity captain. I cleaned. Everyone has to
Have you
clean.
seen that movie, The Little Giants? That football movie where it's like I want to say they're like the Cowboys or whatever, and they've got like top of the line Pop Warner stuff. They've got the pads, the helmet. Like they come out and they're all like, and then there's like the off-brand team, and they're all like in like like a catcher's mask and gear and stuff like that, and they're out there just like kind of winging it and
kind of like the old Bad News Bears kind of thing.
Yes,
The whole stuff, yeah.
exactly. And like I just think that when you see something like that and you see the pride, and like we bought flags this year as a booster so that when we run out, like it has this cool amped up like
Okay. You're talking about the big, like,
yeah.
I'm all like sitting here like flags, like,
yeah, like, little flags,
like you had, don't you hit my head, and I'm right back at this.
yeah, no. So I just think that there's so much. I think our school systems underestimate how much value there is in sports programs in general.
Agree all day long.
Like just, and maybe that's me being a formal athlete, collegiate softball player, like whatever. But at the end of the day, like that is
It
so
draws
meaningful.
kids to want to stay at school.
Yeah, and gives them the desire to get good grades. Like he said it.
Right.
Like I couldn't play football. I didn't care what my grades were. My younger son did the same thing. We were in a meeting and they're like, "Why does grades drop?" I'm like, "He's not playing soccer." You know, like that's what drives them.
So let me ask this question, because this is something that I normally talk about. I don't normally get to talk to the kids about. So this year, Mountain View, or next season, Mountain View is actually going to be it is the weaker region.
Yes.
But do you feel the strong and weak regions are better for the schools here? Like for instance, I sat here and say this. I go, you now have Nogales, Flowing Wells, Tucson High, who's struggled in the past, Mountain View, where you guys were right on the teeter-totter end of it all. But like the rest of the schools that are in that region are now forced to play each other, where that's better than like a South Point or a Cienega or something running through them. So do you think that'll help the football programs?
To be honest, whenever I knew we were playing not even a bad school, but like a weaker school than us, I hated it. I always loved, like, we played Red Mountain this year. Man, there's some dogs, and I loved every second of it. A part of me liked getting my butt kicked.
Right.
Like, there's kids on that team, Division I. Like, I mean, Jacoby Lane just signed with the USC Trojans. Man, there was nothing more fun than going against that team. Like when we played, one of the teams we played, the very first drive, I went out and got 3 sacks and they punted. The first drive, I took care of 3 sacks and they punted. So those aren't fun games to me. Like, sure, the stats look great, it creates great film, but in the recruiting game, if you show a coach you sacking the same quarterback 3 times in the first drive, he's gonna be like, you played a terrible team. That's not speaking anything. When you get up here, game's gonna be different. When we're playing the South Points, we're playing Red Mountains, the Higleys, all these teams they're fantastic. Mm-hmm. I love it because not only during practice do I have to work harder, but I have something to look forward to because those games that we're playing, like the weaker level teams, it's like the kids at practice, they just goof off. They're like, oh, we're already better than them. I don't see the point of working hard to try to get better if we're gonna be better than them. It's like that's not the mindset you should have. You should try to beat them out by 60. We only beat them out by 24. We should have beat them out by 60. But we wanted to be lazy in practice and not really have the ambitious goals that we did for Red Mountain and Higley, and we kind of fell behind. Like the Marana game we played, man, we had some fire under us to beat them. And there was some days in practice where they were so confident in the fact that we could have beat them that they didn't work very hard. Like we were like, oh, we're gonna beat Marana, but there was a lot of days where we just thought we had it in the bag, and then we just fumbled because
I came and visited you guys that week.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And I remember this because I think I even wound up telling somebody.
Me?
Yeah.
I told you. I know.
Oh, we fixed it right away too.
Well, not only that, like I walked in and I was with Javier and I said, Mountain View's not going to win this week.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to win. Why? Well, we were over at Marana right before we went over to you guys. Marana's over there like, serious as all can be, And then I went over to your guys, and they were kind of like goofing off, kind of like what you're saying. And I was like, Javi, they're not going to win.
One thing that if you go and watch like the film, like I took it very serious. I took, our film serious. I was always watching film. I was always writing down plays. I actually proposed a few plays to Coach Reed, and a few of them we did run because my job on that field was to run the defense. So I had to know every position. I played one position. I was a D-flex, so essentially I played all of them, but I was constantly being told, you have to control the defense. So I had to pay attention. If you go back and watch some of like the game film, I was constantly fixing the defensive line. I played defensive line for like 2 weeks, and it was just for a team because they had me as an edge rusher. But I had to know what their job was. So like there were certain plays where they'd be in different positions, and my job was to put them in that position. I was putting safeties in their positions. I was putting corners in their positions, telling them their techniques because I'll admit it's really easy to forget those techniques, but my job was to not forget them. And there was weeks where the kids would goof off so bad that it was like I was fixing them 24/7, and it was making the game so much harder for me because instead of me worrying about me, I'd worry about everyone because it's like, dude, you got to be in the A gap. Yeah, it's like, dude, you got to be in the A gap. You got to be 10 feet deep. Why you 6? You know what I'm saying?
No, I get it. It's like it's not just that's the beautiful thing about football over almost every other sport. It's a team sport. That's what it is, and everybody should know. Hey, look. Hey, move over. Know the positions, know the roles, not only of yourself but each other, and hold each other accountable. When you're holding each other accountable, that's where you're gonna have a great team. I mean, I don't care if you win all your games or not. I mean, that's just that's something that's unavoidable. But you're gonna have a great team. But I mean, and going like just back to this. Other than that, like when it comes to the whole mamas thing, like what are some things that you would tell women or men, like because honestly, as a parent, what would you tell how some of the things you can do to make the experience of your kids better?
I say believe in your kid no matter what. If your kid comes to you and says he's going D1, you believe your kid's going D1. It doesn't matter what happens tomorrow. All that matters is right now, and you believe in your kid.
I know I'm a big popper on that one.
I know. And
like,
that's fine.
I'm a pain in, look, I know I'm a pain in the ass, like, because I sit there and I tell people, it's like, look, there's a box. Like, and I love the attitude of a kid wanting to go D1. You should strive to be the best that you can be. But the thing is like, I get frustrated when people snarl at opportunity.
Fair.
It's just like, look, they're like, have you ever met my kid?
Yeah. I actually was the one that guarded him when we played him, and I'm pretty sure I shut him out.
I don't think you played my son then.
Fair.
So, like, my son's 6'3",
Oh, yeah.
210.
No, I've seen him. He's huge, yeah.
Yeah, he's a big kid.
And he's at Adams State?
No.
No?
So he actually ran into a situation where, because I don't work, I haven't worked in 4 years due to my health issue. I don't know if you guys knew it, but you knew about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So I have congestive heart failure. I was pretty much when I found out right before COVID happened, and pretty much when you looked at it, you have medical kind of experiences all. So I had a 10% EF. I don't know if you know what that is. So I'm pretty much hospice bound.
Yeah.
So 2 years is pretty much what I was kind of given, so on and so on. Started medicating, really, all this other stuff, whatever the case is. So I haven't been able to work. So I just do this. I kind of dove into this because it was like that, or just kind of sit in a room, not being able to, like, people don't understand when I went through the first 2 years of COVID. 1 year I was wearing a life vest, and literally you'd go to sleep not knowing if tomorrow was going to come, because I was told straight up by doctors if I got COVID, I was pretty much over.
Yeah.
So like I didn't know if I'd see my kid graduate, all this other stuff. So all I did was I just focused on this, and this is what kept my sanity. It really did. And so with that all being said, so what happened with Caleb is Caleb winds up going. I took him on a cruise because he's done. He was a 2021 kid, had no football season, just two games. Then he winds up going to the All-Star game that they did, tears his ACL, the first offensive play, second half. At that time, he had a PWO for Western New Mexico. And actually 2 other schools that week alone, thanks to Coach Benet, Coach Dobbins, and all these other guys, pretty much South Point loved him. And so he was out for a year. And he was done. So I took him on a little trip. I drove him up to Alamosa, which is where Adams State is, and also Fort Lewis and Durango. If you ever, beautiful. Have you ever been?
Oh, the baby blue school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Durango is beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So is Breckenridge.
Well, the whole area,
Colorado.
right? So we walk in, and he just stands there. And they're like, we'll take him. Like, both of them. They're like, oh, we'll take him. But there was no offer, no financial offer. And since I don't work and his mom's kind of out of the picture, he was kind of like, he went through the summer training kind of thing, and they loved him. They wanted him to be there and everything. But he was like, Dad, I got $2 in my pocket. I'm coming home. And it was probably the hardest thing for him to ever do. Like I don't hear my son break down, and it was a tough moment because you want to see your kids,
Succeed in whatever their dreams
in
are.
everything. And like he was, when you lose the football for like at all, like it's hard to hang up your cleats. And, I applaud you as like, hey, look, I know where my direction is. I'm okay with, leaving football. It's hard for kids to understand how a senior is, because when you hang up your cleats as a senior, often you'll probably never play that game again.
Yeah.
It's not like I can get a pickup basketball game. We can go play softball. You're done. I mean, you can maybe play some flag football or something like that, but
But that goes for moms too, Chris.
Oh,
Moms
no,
and
I
dads
know.
too. And kind of tracking back, when you shoot for the moon, you're going to land among the stars.
Right.
So my thing is, son, is that what you want? Okay, let's go for it. Let's do
No,
it.
and
I
that's
got
what
your
he did.
back.
Yep.
And that's what he did. And we're going in a different direction, which is fine. But I think what I struggle with as a mom is, do I push him harder, or do I just believe in him and let him do what he wants to do?
Yeah, that's
and
hard.
that's truly 100% where my heart is how can I be your biggest cheerleader in whatever direction you take? Because let me tell you, after spending $600 on a helmet, multiple football camps, multiple $250 pairs of cleats,
God.
My grandpa got me the
girdles,
helmet.
jerseys, it still was money that went in there. I'm going to punch you in the throat right now. It was still that money went into the pot for football,
Right.
And then to go, okay, guys, well, we're going to go in a different direction. You go, okay, do I say, no, you don't quit, we're going to keep moving? Or do you say, all right, son, let's back this second dream? And so I think that it's always changing and always something different, and we just have to be ready for our kids to always change plans, and that's okay. And I think my son will be the first to tell you, I will be his biggest cheerleader no matter what he decides to do, no matter how much he screws up, does great, like, it doesn't matter. I'm there for you, you know? And that is what I think the definition in my brain terminology of a mama's boy is that I got you. Whether you fail, succeed,
yeah.
whatever, I don't
There's
care.
a reason I picked you, Jen, to start this off.
Yeah.
What I was worried about with like the whole like hanging up the cleats thing is I had like Coach Johnson my very first year when I walked in that room. I was a wrestler. I was cutting weight and I was 150 pounds, you know. And he's like, you will be D1. Just follow the program. You will. And he produced something. You know, I put up crazy numbers in the weight room, and I had school paid for. I could have gone to a few colleges where everything would have been paid for. I would have been across the country, but sometimes you have to make that sacrifice. Right. And I was always constantly thinking, like, I could go play at one of the highest levels that is ever offered for majority of football players and have school paid for, or I could chase what I actually want to do, you know? And that was a hard thing for me. And what was crazy hard is, like, a lot of the kids on my team would kill for an opportunity to play at the levels below the one I was opportunized with. So it was like, what would they think of me, you know? And, like, I've never been a big person of, like, oh, what are they going to think of me? But, like, that was one of the situations where I saw a lot of kids on the team struggle, and they would work so hard, but it was like they never were presented the opportunities with me. And it's like I always tried my best to, like, hey, there's this kid on my team he's a stud. Because, like, I always knew that, like, I never really wanted to play at the next level once I had these opportunities with all these medicine business, and I was like, this is what I want to do. But what is so-and-so going to think when I give up $250,000 scholarship in football? You know, like,
right.
That's what they dream of. They've prayed about it. They've dreamed of doing it, and I had the opportunity. I kind of throw it away, and, like, part of me felt like I was, like, kind of disrespecting them. But end all be all, you know, that was the hardest part, was like, what are people going to think of me when I say I'm going to do what I want to do instead of what, you know, people think I would do. You know, that was hard, especially because, like, Coach Johnson, Coach Reed, Coach Gray, like, all these coaches, like, constantly gave me all these opportunities, and, like, it's kind of like, man, I'm not going to do it anymore, you know?
You know, it's even funny because, like, I'm talking about, like, you going to the Senior Bowl with Rodney. I think it was interesting for him to see firsthand how you played and your enthusiasm and your energy when I mean, you were one of those kids that obviously is contagious on the field. You are. I mean, don't hug you while you're plaquing because you're the sweatiest kid I've ever met.
I work hard.
Like, even when he's not playing, let's be real.
I work.
Which is funny because, like, I got my first memorabilia thing. So maybe it might not add up in the football world, but, like, you know, there might be a doctor moment where I'm going to be sitting there going, like, yeah, you know, that doctor that just, you know.
That bowl game, I actually played that bowl game for fun. I played it because some of my good friends on the team, like Josh Roman played,
right.
Vincent Pawazzi played, Diego Elias, Dallas Crow, Lucas Crawford. They all played, and I was like, I mean, that could be some fun.
One more time.
Like, why not? Like, it's still fun.
So what did you think of that game?
Honestly, it was a lot of fun. It could have been better. My jersey just came in, like, I want to say, like, a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I know.
I just got my jersey.
Got caught up at customs. I know that story.
I wore a
Of
practice
all the
jersey.
kids for that to happen to, it's the biggest swag, dramatic child in the world. It happens to.
To be honest, it was a lot of fun. You know, I was on the white team.
Poor Rodney.
I know.
You know, just to be able to talk smack to the other
Random
team
kids.
and to the coaches and even to, like, my coaches. It was a lot of fun. I remember actually Javi posted it. The very, very last play of the second quarter was when that quarterback scrambled, and I laid him out bad. Like, the whole crowd was like, oh, I laid him out bad. He actually didn't come back in the game, so I felt a little bad. But I remember going over to the sideline because I was fourth down, and the coach goes, why didn't you pick him up? And I go, what do you mean? And I took his head off. Like, he's hurt. Like, he's going to feel that tomorrow morning. And the coach is like, no, you're a linebacker. I want to see some Ray Lewis stuff where you just hit him, you pick him up, and you drive him back into the ground. And I was like, I did. I went through him. Like, I was on my feet when I ran him over. And he's like, no, you're going to pick him up. And I was like, okay, come back second half. I'll pick somebody up for you. And then the second half, I barely played the second half, but I want to say it was like a running back up the middle. And I got him. I drove my feet, picked him up a little bit, threw him down, went over to the sideline. I was like, what now, coach? Talk your business. What now? It was a fun experience for, I think, to be honest, everyone.
I think one of my most memorable moments and one of my hardest moments as a mom, because I think everything kind of came to reality, was his very last game. Who were we playing?
Was it
For the very last game?
Was it?
When you hurt your hip.
Was it Sierra
Desert
Vista?
View. It
Oh,
was Desert View. That was the because we played Cienega the game before, the 38-37. We kicked Cienega out of the playoffs, and whoever won the game was going to not only win the region, but were to go to advance to the playoffs. And a funny thing about that game is that's when I tore one of the muscles in my hip, and she told me to stop being the
That's
adult
not-
version of a wussy and
That's
get
not
back
what
up.
happened. That's not what happened.
She's like, "Is that being a pansy?" I was like, "All right."
That's what he heard, but that's not what happened.
That's not what happened.
So my best friend actually
Mothers would
posted
never do
a
that.
picture of it. So he was laying on the ground, and I laid on the ground with him, and I said, "Listen, this is your last game."
Sympathetic moment.
Because I knew it was his last game. I knew he wasn't gonna play anymore, and I said, "Do you want to tape the crap out of it and get back up and just go play, or are you done?" You know, because I know the athlete in me would say, I don't care that I broke my whatever. I'm going out there. I'm going to play as hard as I can because it's my last game, you know? And so, like, I didn't want to be the mom that was like, oh, baby, you're okay. Like, it's okay. It's fine. We'll go to the ER and check it out. You know, like, I was like, no, what do you want? Do you want to full send and do this, or are you done? And I support you in whatever you do. And he said, I'm done, Mom. And I said, okay, then you're done. But I wanted to make sure he knew that he had the choice.
Right.
The thing about that game though is I hurt my hip off of, was it Buena? I was kind of working with a sore hip because I did it last year squatting. I messed up one of my adductors real bad, so like it was kind of painful for that summer and that beginning camp before Marana. And towards the last game, like it started getting worse and worse. And like I'd go home and I wouldn't walk the next day. Like I would do film in my bed. I would hop on the Zoom call in my bed. I would do everything. I wouldn't move. Like Saturdays, I wouldn't move. Sundays, I'd barely move just because I'd be like, man, it hurts. And then I was always taping it every game. And then, you know, working with medicine, working with Miss O, I went to the locker room at halftime for Desert View, and I was like, I need this done. Like, I need as much as you can. We probably put twice the amount that's supposed to go on my hip. And I go out there, I could barely move my hip. Go right again. One of the linemen, like, land on it and pull it when I was running. Pulled it again, and I just, when you feel it, you know it's done. And I was like, man, I would give anything to keep playing, you know, because I know my team needed me. I know the coaches needed me, and that could have been the difference of winning or losing the game is me continue to play. Mm-hmm. But it was just like, man, I can't walk right now. Like I could barely run. I was hurting. Like it was like one of those things where it's like, am I gonna live my life not be able to walk again, or am I just gonna sit out the last 17 minutes of a football game? You know, and I was like, it's 17 minutes. Would I want it back? No, I think I made the right decision, but. If I could have played, I definitely would have, but it was one of those injuries where it's like, this could affect the rest of my life if I continue to do something stupid. So I talked to Miss O about it. I talked to Miss K about it. Those are both people I look up to. She talked about it. And then when I got in the tent, one of the hard things about it is a lot of the younger kids went to that game just to watch, and they all came in our emergency tent, and they were like, dude, you got to go back out there. Like, are you really crying right now? And I'm like, dude, I'm hurting. Yes. Right. You know, it was hard because there's a lot of people on my team that look up to me. Even kids that were seniors and juniors still looked up to me, and like they were like, "Come on, man, you got to just keep going." It's like, I can't walk. Like, I want to be able to walk when I turn 25. You know, God forbid when I'm 63 and old and I can't move.
Yeah. That was definitely a realistic moment for me because in that moment I knew it was like done. You know, like being on the ground. You know, like it was. I don't know how to explain.
Because I never really stayed on the ground. You know,
That's another bad part about being on the sidelines.
I've had my fair share of injuries, you know, like I've been through it all, and I never stayed down. Like I dislocated my finger, and I relocated it myself.
Mom was all like, let me tell you a story. No.
Well, so it's funny because, I'll tell you the story about Brett, and then I'll tell you a story about Blake, my oldest. But with Brett, there was a couple times like he would like kind of like get tousled. This boy like is kind of spastic, but like he'd get tousled or whatever, and like he'd like almost fall and then catch himself, or he'd fall and catch himself. One time he was on the ground, and I looked at him and I was like, that boy ain't hurt. And Miss O goes over to him, and Miss O kind of like looked at me because I love Miss O. She's amazing. And I go, Robert, get up. Like I'm yelling from the sidelines, get up. No one cares. Get up. Like we're not going to be sympathetic in this moment. And Miss O goes, that's what he needed to hear. Because Miss O looks at him and goes, your mom says get up, get up. And so he gets up, and you know, he had to work through some of those emotions and things and feelings. And dude, it's gnarly. He's getting his butt tousled, pushed, whatever, you know, but it's not like he's not giving it to, you know. Mm-hmm. But I'll never forget one of my very first high school football games. I actually was sitting in the stands because this was before I was super involved with the booster. I know.
Say it's not
I was
true.
like one of the people.
Hold
I was
on.
like with the
Go
people.
on. I want to hear a normal story.
I know. And at that time, the SRO for the school was Deputy Monet, and he was
love
like
that guy.
big dude, right? Like 6'5".
He was like yeah, he played college ball. He was beast.
Huge.
I
sheriff's
watched
deputy.
2 girls get in a fight, and he carried both of them by their backpack like this to the front office, and I was like,
Nice.
any man that can do that deserves anything he wants. Like, why
Yeah, cool,
why
mad
does he not
respect.
have like a Ferrari or something? So,
Yeah, but so I'm sitting in the stands and I see Blake get tackled, took a really hard hit, and he's just laying on the ground.
This is your older son.
This is my older son. And I stand up and I'm like standing, you know, like they have like the fence or whatever, and I'm standing there and I'm like, he's okay, get up. He's okay, get up. Like, you know? And then all of a sudden Miss O like runs out there, right? And I'm like, So I start to walk down the little stairs and I'm like watching him and I'm like, get up. Get up. Like, you know, that fear that in your mama heart that like you're assuming like they snapped him in half. You know, like you just
No, I've there's funny things because like I have seen grown women when their kids go down on the field, ears perk up, eyes open, and they can do hurdles.
dude,
I
I've seen
cleared the fence.
No,
I
I've
cleared
seen
the fence, Chris. I cleared it. I cleared the fence, and Monet's standing there. He says, "I saw the look in your eyes." He says, "There's no way in hell I was stopping you." I said, "Smart man." I mean, I cleared the fence, and I was like halfway to Blake, and then he started to get up, and I was like,
Okay.
All right, and I
think I'll
turned
go.
No,
around.
dude, I've not only as like one of the athletic training interns, and as an athlete, like I've seen some moms that you didn't think were going to be able to actually run.
Don't mess with
and
mama.
They're clearing like a 5-foot fence, and I'm like, I don't even know if I can do that right now. Like,
Don't mess
I
with
was
mama.
in peak physical shape, but I don't know if I could get over that fence. And then they're just hopping it like nothing. I'm like, man, whew, that was impressive.
But being a football mom, it is a fine line between being tough and love. Like, it is a fine line. And I don't think you ever really know what the right direction is. You're just guessing and hoping that that was the right thing to say in that moment, you know?
Well, I know we've already hit like the hour mark.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
You said we'll see how long you and Brett
Like,
talk. I'm all, dude, we're breaking limits. We're
and
breaking
here's
records.
the funny part is because like I'm trying to keep it close to an hour because I know we can just go.
Yeah.
And I want people to want more. And like I would love like down the road as we kind of see how this went and how other people kind of come in and then maybe like revisit this.
Yeah.
Because like honestly, it's interesting. Like and you guys, like I said, you were one of the first couples like couple that I wanted to bring in because it's like I know the energy and it's new and it's like I know you're that mom. And there's still the bleacher moms that I got to get because I know the bleacher moms are like they're the loud ones.
Oh, yeah.
Like mom's over there taking camera shots and stuff like that,
Well,
and
'cause
she's
I
right
got-
there.
Oh, she
but-
screamed at me with her camera.
I got threatened by Johnson that if
Yeah.
I yelled, I wouldn't be on the sideline.
Right.
So I was
She
all,
had to keep a composure.
Right. It didn't work.
No.
But at the same time, you know, it's fun because I can't stand long because I get told all the time, oh, just come stand on the sidelines and stuff like that. I get to sit down inside the nest of some of these moms and it's amazing. Like I'm really interested to see how this segment kind of thing that I'm doing right now with meeting some of these parents and moms actually goes because you guys are a hoot.
Man, I'll tell you.
Like you really are. But either way, no, I'm gonna wrap it up. Like we can all go do lunch or something right now if you guys want to or whatever. I'm
I
down.
have to get home. I'm sorry, Chris.
Why? If I sat here and said we're gonna talk for another 20 minutes, you would stay.
Let me
know
tell you,
what
I got 20 minutes. I got to talk to you about my favorite memories. Like I've had my fair share. I got like
No,
top
but-
5 for sure.
When,
Those were all
about him.
concussions.
Oh yeah, I forgot them all. Yeah, I don't remember.
No, one thing I do want to say is to the moms is
Yeah.
that at the end of the day, you're killing it. You're killing it. Whether you're sitting on the bleachers, whether you're at home watching the video later,
loud.
hearing the stories, be loud. Who cares? Your
Yep.
kids are gonna be embarrassed no matter what you do. You know,
Hell yes.
and like just love the crap out of your kids, and everything will buff.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, as a high school athlete, it's not even like your own mom, but like it's other people's moms. Like Coach Reed's wife was
Yep.
probably a bigger fan of me than me was. You know, like she loved me.
So parents, what you're saying pretty much, moms out there in the stands, not just for your own kids, just be loud.
Be loud. They
Be
hear
loud.
you. They
be,
hear you.
Be there. Be square.
They tell you they don't. They hear you.
There was times
If
where
I can hear them, they can hear you.
Right?
there was times where definitely like I'm trying to like be like laser focused, trying to predict the play, and I hear my mom, and I'm like, I'm trying to focus, mom. She's loud. You definitely hear a lot of
Well,
things in the
especially
stands.
since she's pretty much 40 yards closer.
Even
And I
even
sound like I'm 12, so my voice is
even
like
even
super-
people in the stands, like they weren't even my parents. I'm like, man, go 63. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, love it. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. We got to wrap it up because if not, like I said,
Keep
we'll
going.
keep going.
Yeah.
But we got some. I'm definitely gonna get some future moms in here and stuff like that. And yeah, have some fun with this.
Yeah. We're here for
other
it.
than
Whatever you
that,
need.
see you guys. Wave goodbye or whatever you want. Bye.